Ok, ok. Hola, come o que no te.
Finally challenging.
Okay, guys. We finished the Instagram clone for yesterday, and I'm doing some of the JavaScript part right now. So let me open the Instagram clone. What happened to my mouse today? I can't talk. Wait, not this one. Essential. The essential CSS. Outgram, yeah. So guys, we complete the Instagram clone. It is not fully functional. I want to code this, but I couldn't figure it out. So I will try and fix this later. I don't know this unknown errors. Like, it doesn't show me anything except this. I couldn't figure out which bug that I have, and so I might do it back again later tonight. But for now, we will be moving on to building a search bar.
Excited to bring you the screencasts where we're going to be building a search bar and find users. So this is what we're going to be building here on the right. We are going to have a search bar on the top. Once you type into the search box, so for example, if I type Carl in there, it's going to bring back result. If I type K in there, it's going to bring back Carl Katie. So it's going to do a partial match until it finds the full word. So we have to think about how we're going to handle user events. So when a user types in the search box, we have to attach an event listener. So we have to listen for changes on that search box. So there's a few things to think about. How do we use and capture user events? Well, how does this translate to JavaScript? Well, in real life, in quotes, we do events every day, whether that be opening a door, closing a door, turning on a light, waking up in the morning, getting dressed. All these tasks we do subconsciously every day. But if we're, for example, turning on a light, in the mechanism of a light, it's capturing an event, e.g. a toggle. When it comes to JavaScript, we can capture events such as keyboard down, as in a user pressing down on the keyboard, and keyboard up. In JavaScript, these are called key up and key down. So if you key down, you can use key down and key up. So as soon as a user lifts their finger off the keyboard, we can capture that event. Secondly, we also have to think about how we can get all excited to bring you these screencasts where we're going to be building a search bar that can find users.
Nice.
So this is what we're going to be building here on the right. We are going to have a search bar on the top. Once you type into the search box, so for example, if I type Carl in there, it's going to bring back Carl as a result. If I type K in there, it's going to bring back Carl Katie. So it's going to do a partial match until it finds the full word. So we have to think about how we...
I think this is more like an algorithms. It's interesting.
Handle user events. So when a user types in the search box, we have to attach an event listener. So we have to listen for changes on that search box. So there's a few things to think about. How do we use and capture user events? Well, how does this translate to JavaScript? Well, in real life, in quotes, we do events every day, whether that be opening a door, closing a door, turning on a light, waking up in the morning, getting dressed. All these tasks we do subconsciously every day. But if we're, for example, turning on a light, in the mechanism of a light, it's capturing an event, e.g. a toggle. When it comes to JavaScript, we can capture...
Right, let's read this. Use keyboard event. How does a user event translate to JavaScript event?
events such as keyboard down, as in a user pressing down on the keyboard, and keyboard up. In JavaScript, these are called key up and key down. So if you key down, you can use key down and key up. So as soon as a user lifts their finger off the keyboard, Secondly, we also have to think about how we can get all the current names from the DOM. So we have a list of names in our index.html file, and this essentially is what we're going to be searching through. So when a user goes and types a name into the search box, such as Carl, we grab that name, we store that name, and then we do a comparison through all the names. We have to make sure that both names, so when we're doing a comparison, we have to search through all the names, and the user search query, we have to make sure both of those are lowercase, so that when we're doing a comparison, we're not doing a comparison against Carl with an uppercase K and a lowercase Carl. So lastly, we have to, as mentioned, make sure that we loop for all the names and we check for the user's query. If that query exists, we show just that one result. If it happens to be KA and you have Carl and Katie there, well, you show both results. So each time a user searches, we do a comparison. If we don't find a match, we don't show that particular name. So here's an example of me searching for Carl, and it's found a full match, so it shows just Carl. So it's time to build. Let's jump in and we can get started. Okay, so in this screencast, I just want to take a quick time out and show you how events work within JavaScript. So we're going to be using this going forward because we do want to grab the value that the user types into our search box. So I'm going to demonstrate here how basically we can use an event listener and we can attach a event such as key up or key down, but in this case it's going to be key up. So when the user keys up off the keyboard, we then run our function. The function that gets ran when it comes to event listeners, we can do whatever we like, but it does give us an event. Now, I want to just take a second to go over the task and the objectives. So we want to create an event listener for key up for our input field. So we have an input field right here. So with our input field, we want to access the event's target and value. So what we want to do first is get our input field by its ID of username input, and that's right here. So we have an ID. That ID is username input, and we want to access it. So to do that, we're going to, go ahead and what would we do? Get element by ID, right? So once you've got that particular element by its ID, we want to create a let inside, which is going to be called username. And we want to assign the username to event.target.value. But one of the things you have to be aware of is that when you get to the second parameter, so on an event listener, such as add event listener, you can pass key up, and then you'll have a function here. And generally speaking, you may just see one like this, but you do get an event out of here. So what you want to do is you want to use that event and access a property called target. Now the event has a bunch of properties and methods on there, and we can use them. So what we want to do is we want to access that particular property, the property being target. Now target also has another property within it called value, and that value comes from whatever we type in the input field. So once you have the event.target.value, I want you to console.log out the username, what you just assigned to the event.target.value. Once you've done that, just take a look as to, what you type in there. So if we're going to type in here, I'll type Carl. Well, in this particular case, I want you to type it with the first letter being a capital letter. And the reason for that is because Further on in the objectives, you want to use a method that lives on the value called toLowerCase. Now, when we use lowercase, it's going to make this completely lowercase. So the entire word will be lowercase. And that's what we want going forward for some of the later on screencasts where we start looking at how we can do comparisons between strings. So once you have that value, go ahead and console.log that out. And there are some helpers here. So like add an event listener method attaches an event handler to a specific element. That specific element being this input field. Then add an event listener has a second parameter of a function which gives us an event. So that event we're going to be using, which has a lot of properties and methods inside, such as the target. So we're going to be using the target, which returns the element, which will be this. And it's going to be this because we targeted this event. So the event.target has another property called value. So we can use the value to get our value out of here, the value being whatever we type in. Once we've done that, we do want to go ahead and use toLowerCase. So I'm going to leave you for a few seconds. Feel free to pause the video and, you know, take a good crack at this and
all right. So create an event listener for key up for our input field. Access the event target and values. Create our input field by its ID of, okay, so const user input equal username input document dot get element by ID. This is going to be user input. Call this username. Create at event listeners. Right. Create a list called create a let called username. So this is cannot be username. This is going to be user name input element, right? Call this let and create an event listener for key up user input L dot add event listeners. This is going to be key motherfucking up, right? Function inside this function is going to be, oh, I can't type today. Inside this is going to be a let username equal install the event target value on the element user input on the element user input. Huh? User input can event.target.value. How do you do this? Event.target.value. Oh, it's like a, is it? Right, we Google searched it. Is it like this? Can we open this in event dot target dot value. Is it possible? A store event target value. So it's like a using event target property together with elements tag name to find out which element trigger a specific event. Alright, let's just be brainwashed and do this part, because I think at the end he will explain what is all this code is going to be. Now we console log. We are just doing tasks like employee, and by the end of it we might be able to know. Now let's say, why is it? See, this error, unknown errors. This is a fucking useless. Fucking useless.
Good luck. Objective, we are going for the idea of looking for the key up as it states in the objectives. So this is one thing I want you to pay close attention to right now. So when we get the function or pass the function in, this is basically going to say, okay, once someone does the key up, this is what I'm going to do next. And I'm going to give you an event. And on this event, there's a bunch of properties and values that you can access to basically do whatever you like with them. If you want to get the value out of the input field, go ahead and do that. And that's the one we're focusing on right now.
Oh, so we put it in there.
And then we go ahead and say,
So we put it in here. Event. And we do target values. Is it better now? It's still bad.
Username equals event.target.value. We can console.log that out and we can see what it gives us. So if I pull up the...
Wait, what? Just the username? Just the target.value. You can do that. Still say it's bad. Event target value. Oh, I see.
Here, and then I type my name in here. We see we get a call, and we get it in both lower and uppercase for the first letter. So that's great.
Right. So we continue with this. Continue. Console log it. Yeah. Let's store. Yes, we are at here. Console log. Once we have done console log username, go ahead and add two lowercase to the end of the assign. Let lower like this, right? No, it's not. Dot lower. Two lowercase. Two. How do we do this? Hey, we got it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. That's how we do it. And let's see, it's lowercase. It's lowercase now, guys.
Yep. And what
Boom.
happens if we just console.log the event out? We can see if we type in, we get the first of the assigned Twitter, we can say Carl, we can say hello.
Yeah, we can put it here. Make it shorter. Don't repeat yourself, guys. Don't repeat yourself. Right, we run. Let's say Carl. It's all lowercase.
The string value that the user DU in the next screencast.
Right, we continue. We are in a 400-meter dash. We need to keep it fast.
I want you to go ahead and capture the user's search query. I've laid out 4 tasks. So the first one is add an event listener for key. Secondly, you want to capture the event in a let called search query. Now we want to store the value in there. So to store the value, you have to go into the event, then into the target, and then get the value. On the third task, I want to make sure that the captured value is lowercase. So when we store the captured value of search query, we additionally want to add on to the end of that, we want to use the lowercase function that allows us to transform any sort of text to lowercase. On the last particular task, I want you to log to the console to demonstrate that when you search in the search box, you see the name that you're searching for. So that will be the search query. So I'm going to pause the video now, take a shot at this, and I will be back shortly.
Alright, we add event listener key, capture the user search query. How do we do this? So the last one, search query. This is search input. Yep, search input. We do document dot get element by ID. Then we do this. Right. Dot add event listeners. This is going to be open, and then key up. Function. This is going to be capture the event in a let call search query. So this is for like if I remember not wrong, it's for reusability of this parameter stuff. I need to relearn that. That is a hard. I need to practice more with parameters and argument. But hey, now we do let search query. Search query equal store the value. Make sure the captured value is lowercase. So we do basically the event dot target dot value dot to lowercase open bracket, close this, and console log the search query. Run this. Console. We do pair. We do Katie. It's pretty good. I have to take a picture of this so that one day might be really useful. Really useful.
Let's talk it over right now. So first particular point here is it's saying add an event listener for key up. So let's go ahead and do that. So we go to the document and we say get element by ID, search input. And the reason we're going for search input is if we check the HTML, you can clearly see here that we have an ID, and you should be used to this by now, capturing events from IDs. So we can clearly see this corresponds to the search box. So we want to add an event listener, and it says key up. So let's do that. Key up. And our callback will be a function where we can take the event out of. So we're going to get the event, and then it says capture the event in a let called search query. So let's do that. So let search query. So we want to go to the event.
So all this event stuff, is it like basically just take the parameter out and then we dot target value?
Then to the target and then to the value. It says make sure the captured value is lowercase. Okay, so we'll go to lowercase and then log to the console to demonstrate it works. Test, hello, and there we go. So that is the first task.
We have to reread the what is it called? Parameters and argument. This is hard stuff. It's confusing. It's not hard. Like let's just go in here. Parameter identify values that are passed into a function. For example, a function to add 3 numbers might have 3 parameters. The function has a name, when that happens, the information is passed called an argument. Modern programming language typically allow function to have several parameters. Wow. This is a parameters. This is I can read which one is a parameter. I can define which one is. I just don't know why is it like used so much. Int r a plus b. So a and b is parameters. Now this one is an argument, right? Argument. Value parameter allow function to perform tasks without knowing the specific input value ahead of time. Parameter are dispensable component of function, which programmer use to divide their code into logical block. Interesting. Let's watch a video.
Interesting topic. Today's topic is on the differences between parameter and argument.
Hey, when I hear this, I know it's a good video.
In code language. So what's a parameter? A parameter is a variable which is a part of method or a function or a block signature.
A variable which is a part of a method, signatures, function, block, declaration.
So what's an argument?
Interesting. Argument is a variable reference used when calling a function.
Argument is a variable used when calling a function or method. So these are the definitions of parameter and argument. So to understand these statements clearly, let's take an example. So now let us take an example where we have 2 methods, fun and game. So first we need to declare the method fun. So here's the declaration. In this declaration we have variables int h and float I. So this is a part of declaration. So these variables which are part of a declaration are called as parameters. So now in method game we are calling the method fun. Here we are using different variables. Here run and 3.0 is being used while calling the method fun. So here run and 3.0 are arguments. So I hope this makes it clear that h and I are parameters, run, and 3.0 are arguments. So if you like this short video where I explain differences between parameters
I remember exactly like there's a Blondie
Hey
by
guys,
Tess.
a lot of technical terms. So is used to refer to the variable found in a function's definition, its signature. It's a special kind of variable that is used to pass information into functions. Let's take a look at an example. Here we have a class called example, and inside of it a function called hello. Hello has 0 parameters, 0 inputs to the function. The function itself acts like a machine, and when run, it will print out hi. To get it to run, we'll need to call it in our main method or our main function here on line 8. And so to do that, we just go hello, and that will call the function itself. So if we go ahead, I'm using IntelliJ here, but run this Java file, in the console we'll see hi. And there it is. With our function up and running, we can now add a single parameter to the function's definition. And so in this case, we'll want to add a name. And so that way I can say, hi, Catherine, or hi, Arthur, or Andrew, or whoever. And so to do that, we'll go string name, because we want to add a variable called name, and it's going to be of type string. And where are we going to add this? Right here in our code in this print statement. We're just going to add the fact we want to say hi, and then whatever name that we give as an input to this function. Now, where do arguments come in? The argument is the value that is passed into the parameter of the given.
Right, guys. String name. She has to declare a string? What the frick is this language? System outprint and hi plus name. So hi plus the name. So basically just name.
Given function. We pass values into the function when we call it. And so in this main method below, we get an error, and that's because we don't have an
now we can pass in hello Catherine.
argument that's going to match up with our
Now it's going to print out. Oh shit. It's actually genius.
We're just going to say is Catherine. And so that's the value we're giving this name parameter up here when we call it. Ultimately, when line 9 here is executed, the hello function will be called, and the string name, that's going to have the value Catherine, and so when this line 4 is about.
Yeah, I remember it's for reusability. One of how viewers actually told me about this and taught me about this, but I forgot. Like, if you don't practice a lot, you forgot. Like,
Good job with that. We're going to build on top of this in the next task. So I will.
so we basically pass in an event here. And like, what does this event do? Just a parameter. F12. Oh, it's not going to open F12 target value, so the target of event, which is also this function listening to this, right? I'm assuming that's how it is.
See you in the next screencast. In this screencast, we're going to be looking at how we can get all the names from the DOM. So I've set out a few objectives in this task. First one being create a new let called all names DOM collection. So when you're pulling the names out of the DOM, you will see that you don't.
Guys, for this JavaScript stuff, I will go slow. Because I have to understand all of this. This is where all the brainy stuff come from. The logical stuff, and if I don't get it right, I don't think any job would like accept me.
Don't specifically get the values, so we're going to have to dig for them, and I'll show you how to do that. On the objective number 4, you can demonstrate this yourself if you wish by, as it mentions, pulling out the first index of the array and then adding text content to the end, and you'll be able to see a name. So number 1, go ahead and create that new let variable. Number 2, store all the elements of class name in all names DOM collection. So there you have to think about how you're going to get the class names. So there's multiple elements, how we've seen get element by ID, and there's another one called get elements by class name. So that's a good one to use. Then what you want to do is you want to log out all names DOM collection. Tip number 4, you can how we can get all the names from the DOM. So I've set out a few objectives in this task. First one being create a new let called all names DOM collection. So when you're pulling the names out of the DOM, you will see that you don't specifically get the values. So we're going to have to dig for them, and I'll show you how to do that. On the objective number 4, you can demonstrate this yourself if you wish by, as it mentions, pulling out the first index of the array and then adding text content to the end, and you'll be able to see a name. So number 1, go ahead and create that new let variable. Number 2, store all the elements.
Right, so we do. What do we do here? What do we do? What do we do? Create a let call on name. Let on name. DOM collection. Get all the name elements from the DOM. Name elements. Right, do we get the list or the elements? Right, all name DOM collect. Store all the element of class name in all, right, document dot get element by class name, then pass in name, right, and then what do we do? Log out so that console log demonstrate to that HTML exists. Knocks on wood. What the frick is this? Console log. Oi oi oi. Console.log. Now we open bracket. We do all name DOM to demonstrate that an HTML collection exists. Call. Oh, I want to see it. Scrimba index, Scrimba index, Scrimba index. It's good, right? Log out the first index of all name and add value key to view a name. What? Log out the first index. First index. This one, right? First index. This zero is supposed to be zero index. First index. Log out the first index. So 1 first index and add the text content. Run. Pair. Supposed to be 0 call. Yes. Anything is going to be called now.
Elements of class name. All these elements have a short.
Oh, we have
Okay,
to.
welcome back. Collection. Demonstrate. Go ahead and say, give me the names.
Yeah.
And once we have the next one to demonstrate that, the data does exist in there, array, and then we can append it with text content. And there we are, we get the name. So we can just change this index to say, give me the next item.
Okay.
We can type that we use get
So
elements
we basically run a loops.
by class
Right.
name. We will be doing even more interesting aspects. When
Interesting.
we go
See this, like this JavaScript stuff make your brain work, like, so it's more lively. Is when your brain works, it's like you're solving a puzzle. It's not like, oh, I'm going to make this look nice but has nothing to function, blah blah blah. It makes your brain works, right?
Start looking at how we can start comparing the name versus the query.
This is like exactly playing chess but more fun, like interactive chess.
So
You're
once
basically
again,
solving problems.
and fantastic job, and I'll see you in the next screencast. So in this screencast, we're going to be looping over all the names in the collection. So
Let me take a bathroom break and then we will be back. fucking cut.
Our collection is a bunch of DOM elements, essentially. We looked at how we can get a HTML collection, which is just basically saying, I have a collection of list items. If we look in index.html, it's basically all these. So we had to do some digging. We had to go ahead and get the value, so basically the text out of there. So that's how we interpreted the index. So if we have, say, 5 items, we looked for, the index of 0, which is basically just saying, give me the first one, because arrays start from 0 in programming world. So that may be a bit confusing. Why does it start from 0, not 1? Well, that's one of the quirks you'll have to get used to in the programming world. But anyhow, in this screencast, there's a bunch of tasks. So we want to loop over all our names, which is all names DOM collection. So we create a new loop with an
Wait, guys, I want to try. Let's open up Visual Code, and let's just basically try the Blondie girl tips. New text file. Right, we do but the console log. This is going to be select a language. JavaScript. Right, and then what we do is we function. Now we have a something called name. I want to test out the Blondie girl's technique. Alright, so we have a function called name, and then open up. Shut up, Alexa. Console log. Console.log. Let's try this. I'm testing out this parameter and argument stuff. Print out name. I don't want to save it. Run this. New terminal. Try this on like such thing like this. Right, events here, and then he take out the event here. So he doesn't need to repeat all of this, right? He doesn't need to repeat the function. Usability. I see.
Counter called countElection is less than or greater than. Specify like a counter starting at 0, and then you can do a conditional to say, look, if my all names DOM collection is less than or greater than. But in our case, what we're going to do, we're going to say, I'm going to give you a variable of counter, and I'm going to start that at 0. You always start at 0 with a loop. So then you will say, if counter is less than all names.length, increment the counter. So that's our for loop. So once we've done that inside the loop, you want to declare a const called current name and store the text content. Once you have the current name, you have to make sure that's lowercase. So when we do later on do a comparison between the search query and the current name in the loop, we're comparing two lowercase values. So we then move on to make sure that this actually exists. And to do that, we console.log current name. And you should see the names from the loop. So go ahead, pause the video, and I'll be back shortly.
Right, so for here, we have to create a loop with an incremental counters called counters. Let's I, that's counters, equals 0. And we do this. And we do counters less than. Loop all over name. So we have to pass. We have to have a list here. Oh yes. This. Going here. Then I plus counters plus plus. Declare const current name and store the text content. But make sure the counter is less than in the loop conditional. Declare const call and store our text content. Right, we cannot do that. Equal text content. Let's see that. I'm not sure about this. Doesn't look right to me. Make sure content current name is lowercase. Dot two lowercase. Close this. Make sure clock out the current name. Console log current name. See this? Unknown errors. I have to put it in here. And call. Nope. What did I do wrong? Here we do. Can we add like this thingy? Text content. Cannot do this. This is a const, that's why I installed text content. What? Let me watch some tips.
Create a new loop with an incremental less than all. So now it says declare a const call current name and store. We have the counter to give us
All name. What's the all name DOM? All right. Oh my god. All name. All name. DOM collection. Text. Right. Now we print this out. Console. Log current name. Put it here. Right. Still errors. Const current name.
either 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the counter is less than. So with it being, so what we're going to say is we're going to say current name equals.
Oh my god. Now it's all loop out, right? Okay. Now it's all loop out, but it loop all of it, and I do it 3 times because this is 3. Right. So let's deconstruct this out. It's a for loop that counters. It's basically I equals 0, I less than all name. So the length of this less than that. Then we increment by 1. Const current name equal this thingy, which is all of the name, and then we assign list onto it, right? Because in CSS it's already a list, in HTML it's a list. So we index out, and the text content. Why would you need the text content? Interesting.
All names currently stand with text content. Objective would to make sure that they both perfect. You can see them coming through now. Elements, which because now we're inside and we can start.
Right, I will resume the stream later. I have to eat.